All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast. Here with your host today, Richard Fu from richardfu.com. And today we have a superstar on the show. I'm excited to have this guy on because he's just done so much and he's gone through so much. And it's quite exciting to have someone as big as him on the show. His name is Tony Grebmeier. He is the co-founder of ShipOffers. He's actually been lucky enough, and I want to say this with absolute respect and honor for him to build a business with his childhood friends that he's known since basically the days he was able to start walking. And not only that, he's turned that into an 8-figure business that's inside Inc.'s top 5,000 companies for the last 3 years running. Not only that, he's now also expanding out to build more than just his business. He's working on helping real entrepreneurs achieve what it is that matters most to them in their business and in their life. But, I'm not going to take his thunder away. I'm going to bring him into the show, guys. So, Tony, welcome to the show, mate.
Hey, thank you so much, Richard. I appreciate it.
Man, it's great to have you on, and I appreciate you making that time. So, Tony, for the people who haven't heard about you or your work, mate, could you share a bit more about who you help and how you actually got there, man?
Sure. Yeah, I help entrepreneurs and marketers in the online space, maybe looking to launch a supplement business. We've been in business since 2001, so I've seen a lot of marketers come and go in this. First it was drop shippers and eBayers, and then really you kind of help to find the right marketer along the way. So people who are interested in creating 6, 7, and 8-figure, even 9-figure businesses, they all need supply chain. And so we offer white label on-demand products and services for online marketers and people who have storefronts to really just have a leg where we don't charge any money up front. So you can come to us and say, hey, I want to sell 3 or 4 different products. And I'm like, I got those products in my warehouse. We'll put your label on them, send them to your customer, and send you a bill at the end of the week.
Oh, wow. Awesome, man.
And then, it's just a dynamic thing for sure, because you mentioned childhood friends. I've literally grown up. I've been on the internet since 1996. So I've literally got a chance to sell traffic at one time to Google and Yahoo back in the day when we were building websites and marketing from Silicon Valley. So you think about like how you got to where you're at today. You've taken a lot of risks. You pivoted 3 or 4 different times to get to this space today. And you realize at the end of it, all I'm after is helping online marketers not make the same mistakes we did and literally learn how to scale their business with strategic partnerships.
Oh, man, I love it. And I know that we fast forwarded into where you're at right now, but take us back here now, Tony. Take us back, because obviously this was not your first business, right? You didn't just randomly sit with your friends at like 2 or 3 and go, hey, we're going to make this, guys. And then that's bang, exploded. Talk us through that journey of actually reiterating. You said you pivoted 4 or 5 times or something like that.
Sure. Yeah. 1996, I was in radio. I was a radio DJ working in Silicon Valley. I was handed a laptop from a girlfriend at the time who worked for Apple. She said, would you test it? And I started testing it by learning about the internet. My business partner at the time, Gil, said to me, hey, would you be interested in building websites? I'm like, websites, what's that? And he showed me, and I started understanding like it was HTML and Java and I'm like, sure, I can code anything. And he was a designer at the time for Hot Wheels, making Hot Wheel cars. And I literally said, sure, what do you want to do? And he was like, let's just design websites. The internet's getting big. And so we did that from basically 96 to about 99. And in 99, I teamed up with a couple other online entrepreneurs and marketers. And we were a part of a company that we tried to go public. I mean, literally, like we were there. I mean, we had a $48 million offer, and the .com boom came. We were on 2020. I was partners with some of the biggest names in the internet in the world. And the internet just crashed. And so I was out hundreds of thousands of dollars along with my business partner. And we said, now what do we do? And they're like, well, why don't we sell supplements? And I'm like, I've never sold supplements. And so next thing I know, one of my other partners and friends was just graduating from Pepperdine. And so we all teamed up. And what we realized was we didn't know anything about business, but we were all passionate about figuring out how to hang out together and learn to make money together. And that was 2001. And I had been a part of some other companies where I sold some supplements, but it wasn't in the same space as really now going out and helping marketers. And in 2001, $5,000, we leased a piece of property, bought a whole bunch of furniture at IKEA, already had tons of orders, and we didn't have any product. So we placed an order with a lab and said, could you please make us some product? And next thing you know, we were selling out. And we were like, we figured out what to do. And literally from there, all the way up until like 2011, we had a business that kind of went like this. You know, it was an up-down business. 2008 had a big impact. The market in the States was something that caused a lot of people to keep their money close to their pockets, so they weren't buying as much supplements. Yeah. And around 2011, I was sitting at my desk in Colorado. We had transitioned from Southern California to Colorado. And I was like, what are we going to do? Like, what are we truly going to do? Like, I want to build something that I can leave a legacy for my kids and my family and my friends. And I literally want to do something on planet Earth because this is my one shot. And right then and there, I said to my business partners, I'm like, we need to figure out what that looks like. And in that moment, I had got an invitation in 2012 to attend Traffic and Conversions. And I was sitting in the audience listening to William Shatner, literally with like I use this is just Pellegrino water, but it was in a brown bag, and he was talking about his brown bag wine club. And I was sitting in the audience in almost the back row, kind of like I did in high school. And I was watching William up on stage, and he said something to me. He was having fun. He was 80 years old, and he was talking about something that he was passionate about. And I said, I'm not passionate like I thought I was about just selling supplements. I literally came home. Our company's name at the time was I-5, because we used to be off of the I-5 in Southern California. And I said, do we have any better domain names? And my business partner, Gil, goes, I just bought this domain called ShipOffers. I'm like, I love it. Let's use it, and let's get into business. With that mentality, we literally flipped the switch, and we went from kind of like unsure where we were going to now having a game plan of an idea of like, let's get behind shipping people's offers, but let's do it in a mass quantity way where it's completely affordable. And that's how we created this on-demand supply chain model where we have 60 products now. Wow. We've had, when you look at what we do for a living, it's just helping entrepreneurs. Yep. It truly isn't like about making money. I lead with my heart first, not my wallet. I literally try to help another entrepreneur to say, keep your money in your pocket. Keep your money where it is. I'm serious, because there's a lot of people out there who want to take your money. I want to help people save their money and then make the right decision. And so the mantra that was created for me and for the company was, if I can't help you, I'll find somebody who can. Yep. That to me sounds like a strategic partner.
Oh man, that's beautifully said, Tony, because that's exactly the way me and my partners run it as well. As like, we're going to have a chat and let's figure out if I can help you. If I can't, then I'm going to lead you in the right direction to someone who can. And talk us through this, Tony. I mean, you already specified that, I think it was Gil is like the designer kind of guy, the creative guy, and you're like the techie IT, probably, I'm guessing the logical guy who loves systems and logic and processes. Then how did you find that third partner? Where did they fit in with your business? And so that, because what I want to highlight here is how each of you have some different special skill set. Sure. And that's how you all merged in. It wasn't all like, yeah, it was great that you're all friends at the same time, but that's not the reason why you go into business, isn't it?
Well, contrary to what most people would tell you, don't go into business with your friends. I actually proved that theory wrong. And I said, if you really are passionate about what you do and you find the right people to surround yourself with, you can do anything. So Doug is a business person who graduated from Pepperdine with an MBA. And so he's in charge of finances. And then Gil's in charge of graphics and operations at our company. And then I'm actually not the tech guy anymore. I gave that role up many years ago and I became the salesperson. And I'm really the person that are going to go to all the shows, the marketing events. I'm here in Cleveland at a mastermind event for the next couple of days, talking to entrepreneurs and business owners. And so we all dynamically have different skills. Now, what's interesting is when I rewind all the way back to my childhood, Doug, who's in charge of our finances, was always the best gambler. He always kept his bets down to a minimum, but knew when to go all in. Yeah. And we used to trade baseball cards, and that's what we used to gamble with. We had sheets of baseball cards in the 80s. And Doug would be like cautious, but knew when to go all in. And so everybody's got their unique skill. Gil is like the wizard. I mean, like literally designed the very first website for Toy Story. So if you remember the movie Toy Story, he was at a design company and that was their first project that they designed. So I'm surrounded by super talented individuals who definitely in their own right could run any company by themselves. But we formed a tripod philosophy. So we all three have to agree or we don't do it. So if I agree and Gil agrees, but Doug doesn't, we don't even discuss it in like great length. We just say, hey, let's table it. And then we keep moving on about our business. It's literally helped us for 16 years.
I love that, man. I love that. And I love this, and that you've realized, Tony, that you no longer want to play the tech guy, and that you transformed into sales. I mean, like, talk us through that journey, because I'm interested to realize, like, how does someone who's behind the computer punching in the code realize that, actually what, I'm a better at being the people person, being the sales and marketing type of guy.
Yeah, I think the interesting part is I still am, in so many regards, to all my friends and family, the tech guy. If something goes wrong, they call me, and I'll come over and I'll be like hanging on their computer for a couple hours trying to fix it. And I'm like, Geek Squad, can you come and do this? So I now know what I'm good at. I'm actually really good at helping people through the client experience and the journey. And the transition was simple. There's a lot of fun when you're programming code, but I have a programmer who's been with me for 16 years, and he comes out of his office, spilt coffee all over himself, kicking and screaming like, this stuff doesn't work. And so that reminds me every single day that I gave up tech for something that's awesome, which is being in front of people. And I'm very animated, as you can tell. And I love helping people. And so I don't want to be behind a computer anymore. I really want to be out in front of the masses, because I really want to meet people who are on their journey in life. And we talked about pivoting, and people who have pivoted maybe on the wrong path, or maybe they're stuck and they just need somebody to help kind of get them back on track.
Man, I love that you share that, because I think it's so important, because this is something that I've been working on a lot here at Tony, is about trying to get people into what I call their genius zone, which is like, so you're probably a great programmer, but that's one step away or two steps away from really finding what your genius zone is. And so it's all about this journey of going from outside in and in and in and in. And that's why I was interested to learn how you actually made that shift. So thank you for sharing that. And
oh, my pleasure.
Tony, talk about this, man. I mean, like, it's not easy being in business alone. A lot of people think that they should just be self-made millionaires or try and make it on their own. And I know we talked about this before the show, is that, to be in business and to get it from 5 figures to 6 figures to 7 to 8, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of, I guess, fortitude and strength to actually step out and say, look, I'm not good at this and I need help with this, so that you can actually create that scalability in that business. Talk us through some of the ways that you've encountered that and how you've dealt with that, so that you've created, ShipOffers to where it is today, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Richard. I mean, I think one of the hardest things for most entrepreneurs, and I'll just kind of start here, is like, in the middle of our 8-year journey into this business, I had multiple knee surgeries. I got highly addicted to pills. I was married. Next thing I know, I was using drugs all the time and alcohol. And I literally found myself suicidal, and I attempted suicide. And I got literally a phone call that led to a knock on the door, that then somebody walked in, my buddy John, and he gave me a big hug and said, Tony, your life has meaning and purpose, but what you're doing right now doesn't. And I didn't really know what that truly meant at the time. I just kind of wanted them to be gone out of my house. So I was like, yeah, okay, and leave. But I think that was like my angel. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was my angel got sent to save me that night. And in that moment, I realized that I don't want to ever go back there. I never want to go back to that dark spot in my life. I was separated from my wife for 3 years. We're happily married today, 18 years. I've got an 18-year-old, and I've got a soon-to-be 16-year-old. And really why I'm so passionate today about helping entrepreneurs and business owners is that in that cycle, I was stuck and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know which direction to go. We had made millions of dollars. So I had money, but I was so physically, spiritually, and mentally broke inside that it took me getting broken to literally realize, oh my gosh, there's something I can help another entrepreneur to do, is never to get down that dark road by themselves. And so ever since that day, literally December 15th of 2008, I made a vow to be of service and to help other people, no matter where they're at in their journey, get to where they want to go in life. And that goes back to the same thing, mantra, helping people, lead with my heart, not my wallet, to serve, find something that I can help them with, or find somebody who can help them. And so one of the pieces that I really just want to tell people is the most important thing is don't be afraid to ask for help. But I think our society has set us up for failure. Our society has really said, oh, you're weak when you ask a question. And I'm like, no, you're not. It's a sign of greatness when you raise your hand. We were talking before the show, kindergarten all the way through high school, you're taught to raise your hand. Then after you graduate college, you never asked to raise your hand again. So then you are asked a question and you're like, so you make something up. You very rarely say, I don't know. So you'll make something up, or you'll feel like a complete idiot. And I say in that moment, you just need to stop and realize, man, I've spent a lifetime trying to look good to avoid looking bad. I now am at the point where I'm like, if I don't know, I'm just going to tell you straight up, like, I don't know the answer. Let me ask for help. So I have a Rolodex of numbers where I'm like, I need help on this project, this project, this project. Could you help me? And that's what's great about being connected to people that have new connections. Because everybody is literally a couple people away from a great answer and maybe the thing that's going to take your business to the next level.
Wow. And I can't stress enough how important this is, because so often that you're right. And I get this sometimes with my remote team. It's like, you know, it's yes, I know. Do you understand? Yes. And then it's like, hey, what happened here is like, I didn't know what you're talking about. It's like, what are you talking about? Just tell me. And I think that you're right, that there's this huge culture of like, and this is what I found when I was in the corporate world, was that, you know, everyone's judging you. Everyone's deciding whether you get promoted or not, or you stay in your job. And so there's so much pressure nowadays. And so how do you handle that pressure? I mean, like, it's easy to say, you know, you just don't care. You just put it out there and ask the question, but there has to be something, right, that lets you move past that. So you just like, this is more important than me pretending to say yes.
Yeah, it's a great question, Richard. I mean, I think where our society is lined up today is that you almost have to know everything, or you're looked upon as somebody who is weak and you don't know anything. And I'm like, look, I went to 2 years of college. I didn't graduate. And I literally went and got into the radio broadcasting career for 10 plus years. And I've owned a business for 16 years. I didn't talk until I was 4 years old. And all I can tell you is that when I don't know something, I'm like, first to pick up the phone, I'm like, hey, do you know? And so what I tell people is lose the ego, swallow your pride, be okay with not being okay and everything's perfect, and simply ask the question at least once today and see what happens as a response. So you have a 50-50 chance of when you call somebody, they're going to know the answer or not. And then you just keep calling until you find somebody who does. That is actually something that I wish more people would do, because it's not, like I said, a sign of weakness. It's a sign of greatness. Because when you ask for help, it means that you have this ability to want to learn. I think we're never done learning, but I think we're done asking. And that's really where I work with people to say, hey, look, whatever you think you don't know, you're just a phone call, a Google search away. And don't believe everything you read on the line, but you definitely have to get out of yourself and into somebody else's head or heart to actually get the answer. And so get comfortable being uncomfortable and try something new today.
Man, great advice, Tony. Great advice. And I want to chime in here, and I want to open this up even more, because I think this is interesting. This is what I tell some of my clients, is that, you know, Tony, it feels great to help someone, doesn't it, man?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And so what I tell my clients is, when you ask for help, you're putting yourself out there so that someone else can give their gift out, right? So someone else can step in and help for once, because maybe they don't get that opportunity as much as they want, or as much as you have. And so if you give that opportunity to someone else, then you're giving a gift to let someone else give more. And that feeling, and if we don't open ourselves up to that, then we're robbing them of that opportunity to actually give to others and give to ourselves, isn't it?
I love that. Yeah, definitely true. I agree 100%. You know, the greatest gift I ever was told was from my mother. My mother was a special ed teacher for over 30 years, single mom, tried to keep me in the neighborhood with like all the other married families. And my mom was never too proud to ask for help. Never, she just led by example. And so I started following that example. And my mom literally taught me not by telling me, but by showing me. You know, our house would have a leak and my mom didn't know how to fix it. So she would call somebody on the phone saying, do you know a plumber? Do you know an electrician? Do you know a roofer? And so I was self-taught. But you know what? You lose that along the way. Just like, remember we were talking a second ago about asking for help. You lose that along the way. And it takes something like an event in your life to actually get you to be okay with somebody giving you help. Right. And like you said, don't rob them of their opportunity or their greatness to share with you. I mean, that's a very important piece of information you just shared, which is key. That you have something to offer me today, Richard, and I have something to offer you. And if we can collaborate together, man, we can do anything together then.
Yeah, man. Love it. Love it. And Tony, then there's something that popped into my mind just now, and I was like, this is quite interesting. And I'm going to ask this question here is that, we talk about, don't be afraid to put your hand up, ask for help. If you don't know something, then ask the question or make that call. But then sometimes there's the opposite, right? Where someone may do that so much where they don't even think for themselves and they don't want to take that responsibility to try and learn more. You know what I mean? Like there's just like a baby who's like 22 years old and is like, spoon feed me, Tony, right? Like, spoon feed me. And like, how do we balance that? Like, how do we balance out from knowing when it's time to ask and when is it time for us to try and give it our shot? And if it doesn't work out, then at this point is when I should be asking for help.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's along the line of when do I know I need a coach or a mentor, right? Like I can only get to a certain point by myself. So to kind of back up in your question, I was thinking to myself, do I ever ask too much? I was literally trying to go through that myself. And I'm like, no, because one of the things that I've realized is that for me to get to where I'm at in my life, I've had to try a lot and fail a lot. I have to be okay with failing today. Mm-hmm. That's another big piece that entrepreneurs are afraid of. They're afraid of failure. And I'm going to tell you, man, fail fast and fail as many times as you can until you get up that one time and you're like, oh, I've come so far. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Balance. I think it's finding balance. So, because it's an educational question, like when is enough or how many times do you ask? And I'm like, I would start with first on the other side of the equation, just ask.
Yep.
First. And then if you find yourself in that addictive state where you're always asking people for help and you're not learning yourself, or you're not willing to read a book or listen to a podcast or do some research on your own, then maybe take a TV timeout and take a step back for a moment and say, what are you looking to gain that you already don't have? Mm-hmm. And are you just, you don't want to be the boy who cries wolf, right? You want to be the person who literally is interested in the answer and willing to get it and then actually apply it to whatever it is that you're working on and see if you can come up with a solution.
I love the distinction you made there, Tony, because it's so often that you have the other people who just ask the questions just because it stimulates my brain to learn more, but I don't do anything about it.
I always say, man, I want to be the dumbest guy in the room. I never want to walk in being the smartest. Period. I will be bored. I will leave so quick. I have no interest to be the smartest guy in the room. I want to learn every day that I get up. Today is a brand new day for us. And when I wake up, the programming on this day hasn't been implemented yet. I have some fragments of yesterday, and I need to remind myself today is a new opportunity to learn and to try new things and literally get uncomfortable as fast as possible so that I can experience my greatness, just like you got to wake up and experience your greatness and go share that gift with the world.
Man, awesome, Tony. Oh, that's awesome. And one last question here, Tony, before we start wrapping up the show here is the fact that, obviously there's opportunity. You say it's 50-50 chance when you ask the question that someone will say yes or someone will say no. And how do you deal with the rejection, especially if this is the first time someone's listening in and they're like, you know what, I'm going to follow what Tony said. I'm going to ask, and then I get rejected. And, how do they deal with that? What's your advice on that?
I love it. Yeah. Screw it. Just do it. Who cares what somebody says? If they don't know the answer, keep asking. I mean, I look at it like when you've gone to a restaurant and you've ordered a steak or a meal before and they bring you food and it's undercooked or it's wrong. You're like, okay, so you can get pissed and leave the restaurant and never go back again. Or you can get to the point where you're like, you know what? People make mistakes. And I have to be okay with people making mistakes because I make them too. And so not everybody knows the answer. Not everybody is going to give me the best advice. But I also have to, we were watching a television show just a few minutes ago, and I have to remember Plinko. I have to have a pillar of people in my life that a foundational group of people that I'm willing to first ask. And I'm going to allow like my thought or my idea to bounce off of them first. And then I'm going to let it get all the way to the bottom. And then I'm going to intuitively ask myself, is this something that I need today in my life? Should I pursue this? Or do I just need to let this go? And I think a lot of it for what I talk about, and anytime I'm coaching anybody or anything, is like, try it on. Just try it on, like a new hat, a new shirt. Try it on. Is it comfortable, uncomfortable? And first and foremost, just ask. Just ask. The worst thing that someone's going to tell you today is something that you can't use. The best thing somebody's going to tell you, like me, is that, hey, try it and see what happens. And if you like it, great, keep doing it. If you don't and it feels uncomfortable, then don't do it. But I believe you that when you keep asking, you will find that there's a gap that you're gonna go from the possibility to the reality. And there's a bridge that needs to be brought, because everything in our head is fantasy. So any thought, anything that I have is fantasy. When I speak it, it becomes possibility. When I share it with another human being, that possibility has a chance of becoming a reality. But in between there is a gap. And a lot of times when we ask or do something in life, we fall down the chutes and ladders. We start climbing up the ladder of where we want to go and make this thing our reality. And we face resistance. In the genius of your humanness, when you face resistance, you have a decision. Do I keep pushing or do I give up? Because that's a habit that people have been doing all their life. They just give up. It's just easy. Yes. I'm like, push past your resistance and climb to the top. Now you've bridged the gap. Now you can step into greatness every single day of your life, because you've now figured out the formula that it's not you that's going to get you to where you want to go in life. It's a community. It's a connection. It's a mentor. It's a coach. It's people surrounding you, encouraging. I've been at the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. To a guy who wants to commit suicide, to a person who right now is more happy and more joyful than I've ever been in my life, because I realize that the key to my happiness is community. But most people push everybody away and say, I got this. I got this. It's all figured out. I'll take care of it. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh, man, I love that, man. I love that metaphor and that imagery you painted for us, because it just sinks in. It sinks in so much that there's going to be resistance. You're going to face rejection. You're going to face people not wanting to be there with you. But, you know, it's just, so what? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going because that's where I want to get to. So,
yep, definitely.
I love it, Tony. I love it. And so, Tony, as we start wrapping up the show here, we're going to go into our quick fire question rounds. And we're going to start with my favorite one, man. It's the time travel moment. It's the signature question here. And it's basically this, Tony. It's, you know, if you could go back to any moment in your life, 10, 15 years, whatever it is, back to talk to little Tony and give him one piece of advice that you know today, when would you go back to and what would you tell him?
I love it. I call it the past talk question. I would go to 16. I go back to my 16-year-old self as I was in high school. And I would say, you're going to get bullied a lot, like you have been, but just be a true friend and don't allow people to determine your outcomes in life. Remember to speak your truth and be your word. And I'll promise you the rest of your life, it'll show up just magical if you be your word.
Wow. Awesome, man. So much power in that. I love it. I love it. The next question I have for you, Tony, is I'm sure you've read a lot of books, and I'd love to get from you, I mean, like, what is a complete and total must-read book, if you were just one book to recommend to the people here listening and watching here?
One book, Wayne Dyer, Power of Intention.
Awesome. And yeah, tell me.
I would go that route. I mean, for me, because I'm an addict and I'm in a program, my 12-step book is next to probably the most important book in my life. You can change the word from, you know, alcohol to anything you want. And literally, there's a formula to change your life. So that's probably my number 2 book.
Awesome, man. We'll add those into the show notes as well. And the next question I have for you, Tony, is, you know, it sounds like you've had a lot of powerful mentors, coaches, and people around you. But what is the one piece of advice that stuck with you and just keeps, you know, coming up in your head from time to time?
I'll throw this to my wife. My wife literally says, like, everything you say, everything you do is going to be flash forward right before you die. So literally be your word, and then you'll be okay with everything you see. Like in that moment, like no matter what happens, like everything that you've done up until this point is going to be shown just like that right before you die. And so I have to honor and love my wife. And so her advice always to me is just to be your word. Just show up in the world in such a way that it's authentic, it's transparent, it's informative. And at the end of the day, when you go to bed, that you were your word. And if not, clean up your mess.
Wow, man, that is awesome. I'm just like sitting here and like, that, all right, now I know in my own moment of death, I'm going to have to make sure that I live up to that. And I love that. That's a huge, powerful piece of advice. So thank you for sharing, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, Tony, man, it hurts me to finish this up, man, because I've been having such a great time here chatting with you. And so for the people who want to learn more about yourself and your work, where's the best place they can go to, man?
Sure, I'd love to drop 2 properties for you. So ShipOffers.com, ShipOffers.com. And then I run a podcast myself, TonyGShow.com. And those are my 2 places that I love to spend my time, because I mix my podcasting, which used to be radio for me, and my love of helping entrepreneurs, which is ShipOffers.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And finally, Tony, I mean, we've chatted a lot and discussed a lot on this show here today. Is there anything else you want to add on that we didn't get a chance to cover today?
No, I got to tell you, it's been probably one of the best interviews that I've ever been a part of. You've done an amazing job. I mean, a podcast host myself, you've stepped up the game. I've got a lot to work on, so I'm proud to be here and be a chance to be interviewed and out to your community today. Just want to say thanks for the opportunity. Every day that I'm alive, every day that I get to tap into somebody's network, I don't take that lightly. I actually appreciate the opportunity that someone was inspired enough or curious enough to have me on their show. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony, man. Thanks for jumping on, man. Absolute pleasure, absolute honor here to have you on, brother.
Thank you.
And so, guys, this wraps up another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast here today with the man himself, Tony Grebmeier. And so we still make mistakes, and that's all good. But I know this. I know Tony doesn't want this to be a mistake. He wants this to go out there. He wants this to be shared with as many people as possible. And for us to do that, we need your help. We need your help to put this out onto iTunes, to rate the show so that his message and all the other guests that we have had on this show can get their messages out there. So head on over to rate the show as well. Of course, all the show notes and all the resources are over on richardfood.com. And remember, guys, go out there, go live with love, and go smash it. And I'll see you again on the next one.